Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP
Good
we're going to be
afternoon.
looking at today is SCP-738. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-738 is to be kept in 3 linked sealed chambers with armed guards and a remote detonation system at all times, as well as constant full audio-visual surveillance. Due to the variety and strength of observed interactions with SCP-738 and the unknown limits of SCP-738, the following procedures are to be strictly followed. When SCP-738 is not in use, its components must be kept one to each chamber. Mechanical means built into the containment area are to be used to assemble and disassemble SCP-738. Should mechanical assembly means fail, then testing is to be cancelled until an engineer fitted with an explosive collar can be sent in to repair the systems. Said engineer is to be detonated upon any attempt to interact with any component of SCP-738. Should medical disassembly fail, preset-shaped charges shall be used to disassemble SCP-738. The system should then be repaired and reset by a single engineer fitted with an explosive collar. All D-Class personnel used to test the device must be mildly intellectually disabled or of comparably impaired cognitive function, and then must be fitted with an explosive collar. This is in order to prevent them from learning too much about SCP-738 and possibly using SCP-738 in a way that is detrimental to the Foundation. Class D personnel with IQs over 60 and all other personnel are not allowed into the room containing SCP-738. Class D personnel are allowed into the room containing SCP-738 for experimentation only and are to be provided with continual instruction by research personnel. Description: SCP-738 consists of 3 components: a matched set of mahogany furniture including 1 desk, currently labeled SCP-738-1, 1 strike-back chair currently labeled SCP-738-2, and 1 ornate throne-style office chair labeled SCP-738-3, all with brass embellishments and royal purple velvet padding. The effect begins when a sentient entity sits in SCP-738-2 in front of SCP-738-1, with SCP-738-3 resting behind SCP-738-2. The cameras show SCP-738-3 moving during the effect, frequently leaning back into a relaxed state, as well as moving closer to or further away from SCP-738-2. Occasionally, SCP-738-3 is moved in front of SCP-738-2. Furthermore, cameras show papers and folders containing papers leaving SCP-738-1's drawers. The papers are made of a parchment. A quill pen and a bottle of ink emerge from the long drawer. The pen will write on the parchment. Audio recorders record a distorted voice speaking. This voice will make offers and promises, attempting to tempt the occupant of SCP-738-2. Meaning has been extracted from the spoken voice. If in this time the entity sitting in SCP-738-2 makes a request, then the tempting and offers will cease. There will be a pause and a price will be stated. This can be bargained with. However, the voice will insist on other prices of equal value. Occasionally, when a request is made, the voice will respond by telling the requester that they do not want the object enough, or that they are obviously requesting the object for someone else to get around paying full price, in which case the request is not fulfilled. This occurs most frequently for requests that can affect other people or can transfer possession. Accepting the deal causes the agreed upon wish or command to be fulfilled to the letter, but not past the letter. Furthermore, it will cause the occurrences stated in the price to be paid. The entity has actively stated that occurrences in the price are intended to cause an amount of emotional and/or physical pain to the amount that the requester desires what they request. How parity is calculated is at present unknown. The price has also been stated to be independent of any pain caused by fulfilling the request. See the test log for examples of prices paid and requests made. As a final note, personnel in the chair have reported seeing an entity sitting in SCP-738-3. However, all attempts to observe this entity when not seated in SCP-738-2 have failed, and further descriptions of the entity are inconsistent between sessions, even with multiple sessions with the same person. When asked about this, the entity claims to be the same entity each time. Some frequent descriptions of the entity include seductive and charming. Sessions with the same person that are close in time
sound like the devil
report
to me.
similar or identical entity appearances. Sessions with different people that are close in time report different entities' appearances. Descriptions of the voice do not match the voice recorded on the equipment. Addendum 738-1. History. SCP-738 was recovered from the office of a Catholic cardinal after his death. He had received it as a gift from the Pope for extraordinary services from the Vatican archives. The Foundation became aware of SCP-738 after, with dead and his will contested in the aftermath of the event. Foundation personnel acquired the desk. Foundation agents in the Vatican reported recovering some of the documents surrounding SCP-738. Addendum 738-2. Test results. Test 1. Researcher sits in SCP-738-2 and waits. Results. Researcher reports several attempts made to coerce him into a deal, with deals including love of the woman he wants, an object that would make him a well-respected researcher, and the granting of O5 status. Startled researcher leaves SCP-738-2, leaves room. Recordings follow statements provided. Researcher reports disappearance of the entity, followed by return of pen, paper, and folders to drawers. Using cameras, speed of object return clocked at over 120 meters per second. Researcher reports seeing a man in a red and gold business suit. Test 2. Personnel D26 sat on SCP-738-2. Analysis performed upon papers and documents. Results. Spectral analysis has confirmed that the parchment is human skin. The feather in the quill pen comes from an unidentified bird. Subject offered freedom, is told that the price is death of his best friend. D26 laughed and agreed, then vanished. D26 was recaptured 5 hours later. Documents written in English. D26 involved in test reported seeing a beautiful and seductive woman. Test 3. Personnel 6597, a non-native English speaker, sits in SCP-738-2. Results. Papers written in D6597's native language, as is spoken communication. D6597 offered the power to never be held in a cell again. Prices stated to be memories of D6597's mother. D6597 accepts offer. After acceptance,
he gave up,
resulting in the deaths of 12
of
guards and D6597. Test 4. Personnel 8846, dyslexic and seriously intellectually disabled, sits in SCP-738-2.
Still dies.
Results. The language on the parchment appeared to be crude pictograms representing the deal, though some words in English were represented in the parchment. In general, the English was unrelated to the pictures they were under, and frequently insult D8846's intelligence, and state that the entity is uncertain of how much of this D8846 understands. D8846 was offered a sloppy
He's
Joe.
gotta be an
Price
asshole.
was stated to be Mopsy, a toy that D8846 had been allowed to smuggle into the Foundation. D8846 accepted, and food was materialized upon the desk, along with antique silverware, fine china plate, and crystal glass sippy cup with wine-colored grape juice. D8846 shows great distress upon discovering that Mopsy was missing after finishing meal. D8846 reports seeing a large toad rabbit. After deal was complete and D8846 left the chair, recorders picked up a sigh. Voice print of sigh does not match D8846's voice. Test 4 follow-up. D8846 issued toy exactly identical to Mopsy. Result. As soon as D8846 named the toy Mopsy, it vanished. D8846 showed great emotional distress. Test 5. Destruction testing. Result.
Interesting.
Explosive, fire,
Destruction
gunshot,
test.
mechanical wood chipper fail. Direct attack upon desk with axe leaves a single gash with depth of 3 millimeters and results in, as well as death of attacking personnel. Gash remains in desk. Video logs show gash healing at a rate of 1 micrometer per day. Test 6. Researcher sits in SCP-738-2, asks, "What are you?" Result. Entity, taking the appearance of a large snake, states, "I'm sorry, it's against policy to divulge personal details, but may I interest you in..." Researcher stood from the chair, shaking and ending the session. Researcher was then placed in Mental Institution 5, awaiting review due to information revealed
Shook
by
him to his
offer.
core.
Test 7. Sheldon Katz, Esquire, Senior Counsel with the Foundation's Legal Department. Result. At commencement of test, Mr. Katz presented the entity with a notarized, apostilled affidavit stating that he was participating in the test on his own behalf and not as an agent for the Foundation. Approximately 41 hours after the commencement of the test, Mr. Katz lapsed into unconsciousness due to exhaustion. Mr. Katz described the appearance of the entity as identical to his first-year contracts professor from law school, but he declined to describe the nature of the offer that had been made. He reported that just prior to his blacking out, he had been in the midst of negotiating a precise technical definition of the word shall. Katz stated that the current working draft of the agreement that he and the entity had been drafting was at least 900 pages long at that moment, exclusive of exhibits and schedules, and that he regretted not keeping a copy for his form file. A red leather envelope smelling of sulfur was found on Mr. Katz's person, which contained a handwritten note reading, "Please come back
Really
anytime.
pushing that this is
I
devil.
haven't had so much fun in years. Mr. Katz has requested reassignment. Remaining tests require level 4
Katz said, "I'm
clearance
done
or
with this
higher
shit."
to view until declassification is complete." Addendum 738 3. Notes. In recent testing, offers have been made directly to the researchers who were telling the subject what to do. Recommend cessation of all testing. 052. So I know you're all thinking it, but I'm just gonna say it. Yes, of course the lawyer was the only person who got along with this entity. Of course. Anyway, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
It's a deal to be done. Like he likes matching, or this entity likes matching wits with someone, and it seems that the lawyer was the best one to match wits with. So. But they also said, well, I guess after all these tests, they're like, no one with an IQ over 60 can sit down and talk with this dude. Because it actually seems that this light talk is that it made fun of him, his intelligence, and it was basically like a sigh at the end of it. I was like, this dude is a fucking idiot. Like, there's a 900 page. I like to see that lawyer just going back and forth with the devil about a deal. Like, no, but I want this. He's like, no, but you got to do this. He's like, no, we gonna do this. He go, and just keep going back and forth, back and forth. I like, you like, of course, the lawyer is the only one who gets along with this entity that is saying it's like the devil. I mean, that is, we don't know if it's the devil. I mean, yeah, they're really pushing that there's some demonic going on here with the sulfur and the old, like, stylized wooden, like, antique type desk with the entity wearing a red and gold suit and shit. Like, I mean, I guess they could have pushed it further. He had like a black suit on with a red tie. I'd have been like, okay, let's bring it back a little bit. Let's bring it back. And let's not put everything on the nose. Let's bring it back some. And then the pages were in that the deal is written on are human flesh or human skin. You know, and then the pen is just I think it's an unknown bird or something, but they're really pushing the devil part. I mean, come on. It's very similar to that, but like I said, we don't know this actual devil. You know, That'll be like saying this, and then all these other SCP entities are like either gods or demons or creatures from other you know parallel universes or pocket dimensions or whatever. You know, I guess they could be because what was that SCP that was SCP-001? That's the Gate Guardian, I think it's called, or whatever. It's like a giant, like bright, like a light figure of a giant winged creature, a humanoid that has a flaming sword and protects this gate. And the thing that what they say it was in Jerusalem, some shit, or near outside Jerusalem or something. And it pretty much, smites anybody that comes near it. And they think that the gate is actually the gate to the Garden of Eden. But and what was that? That SCP? What was it? Is it 682? The Immortal Lizard. Is it 682? Because the SCP-07, it was 073 is the one that the stone one that breaks everybody's neck when you break eye contact with it. That was the Immortal Lizard. That said, what he said, you are not Michael or something like. Basically, he was like, say you ain't shit, and you can't, stop me or some shit like that. And the thing kept like smiting, like, just kept burning. But he's an Immortal Lizard. He just healed right back. But and I think I watched something about that because that's one of the more popular SCPs. That the Immortal Lizard could be one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Like it could be death. I think either death or war. I can't remember exactly what it because that thing can pretty much. It not only is basically immortal, but it's very reminiscent of Doomsday in DC, where if it fights you, and like when it fought, like when Doomsday fought Superman, it's like, oh, you have a vulnerability to kryptonite or weakness, I should say, to kryptonite. I'm going to grow kryptonite like bones out of my fucking hands and shit to hurt you more. Because I think it was one where they shot the Immortal Lizard in the eye or something like that, and then they kept shooting him in his eye, and then his eyes healed back, and they were no, it was when they I watched this. It was I forget the channel, but it was one of those videos where they pit two SCPs against each other, and uh they pitted uh 682 against 073, and they wanted to see what would happen if he like broke eye contact, but the lizard like just sat there and didn't blink and just like refused to blink and just sitting there. And then they end up shooting his eyes out. And from what I remember, I think the lizard like freaked out, grew a bunch of eyes on his body so it wouldn't break eye contact with 073. And then they shot those eyes out, and then they grew those eyes back and had like this hardened, like crystal clear, like cover over the eye that deflected the bullet so it couldn't shoot the eyes out anymore. So it adapts because they did one where he fought 682 fought 069, the shy guy, the one that kills you if you see his face. They put him in the same room and made sure that he looked at it, that the immortal lizard looked at his face, and they started fighting up. And then when they looked back, the immortal lizard had like a bunch of injuries on his body. Like they think they said like 90% of his body was destroyed. And then the shy guy was like injured too, and they just in the corner crying. And the immortal lizard just sitting there, and he's like, "I'm gonna heal back." And he said, "Anybody who, the video was like anybody who had anything to do with this experiment, because the 682 is like highly intelligent as well and can speak. Anyone who's had anything to do with this whole experiment, I'm killing." And I was like, well, what happened? Because they both seem to be invincible, but the shy guy seems to be like physically like invincible. Like the immortal lizard can actually get damaged, but he heals rapidly and regenerates his body rapidly. But he also can grow his body too. So, but the shy guy seems to be more durable. But then it's kind of like what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And it's like, I guess, nothing. It's just a stalemate. The lizard in the corner, Moses' body destroyed, with the shy guy injuries on him and him in the corner crying. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell if you don't know if I want to upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.